Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and welcome back to another Monday. Hopefully you had a rejuvenating weekend. Joining me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome to all of our listeners. I am so excited. It is getting so cool out, and I can enjoy all the amazing drinks that are warm, at least. Well, let me go ahead and start us off with, I think, a really clever joke. Knock, knock. Knock, knock. Wow. Knock, knock.
There's a no soliciting thing right on my property.
Wow. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Mustache.
Mustache who?
I mustache you to carve the turkey, please.
Oh, mustache. Clever.
See, I brought a snack to the door. And to think you were about to turn it all away. So, for new listeners, we're a channel where we dive into the wild world of Am I the A-Holes? Get ready for stories that are packed with twists, drama, and moral dilemmas that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. So, whether you're here to judge or just enjoy the chaos, remember to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to join our community of story enthusiasts. Now, let's see who's right and who's, well, maybe not.
Well, Voyse.
Well, Timstradamus.
It looks like we have a new shout out to make.
We do. We have a new Patreon. Welcome to the Tea Club, Porcelain Slain.
Dope name.
Sounds like from an anime.
Like a very cool heroine.
Oh, yeah.
Heroine.
Almost like a paranormal demon hunter kind of thing.
I'm done.
Porcelain Slain.
Welcome in. Love and appreciate you.
So, let's go ahead and give you your tea so we can delve into these really juicy stories I found. And for your tea, I decided to make it really simple. It's just green tea, lemongrass, and some orange peel. Kind of spruce us up in the middle of the month.
Actually, that's not half bad.
That's right. That's because it was made by yours truly with love.
I can taste it.
Perfect. Well, while you go ahead and enjoy your morning cup of brew, why don't we go ahead and delve into these stories? For any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for asking a woman to quit touching me? Recently, I, 34 male, visited my local bar/restaurant where I've been going about once every 2 weeks for dinner and drinks over the past 2 years. While I'm not a regular, the staff and some patrons recognize me and often come to chat. I'm not the best looking guy, but I work hard at the gym and take care of myself. On my last visit, I was sitting alone at the bar, engrossed in my phone, when a woman, early 40s, sat down beside me. Initially, I didn't pay much attention to her until she asked if I was going to talk to her or just stare at my phone all night. I was caught off guard and apologized, explaining I didn't realize she wanted to chat. She then asked me to buy her a drink, which I declined because I have a fiancé, and told her that would be inappropriate. After walking away, she returned and started rubbing my shoulders. I pulled away and asked what she was doing. She claimed I looked tense and was just trying to help. I brushed it off, thinking she might have had a few drinks. However, she continued to touch my arms and even my beard while getting close to my face. I politely asked her to stop, emphasizing that it made me uncomfortable, especially considering I have a fiancé. She apologized and said she would stop. But about 20 minutes later, she came back and grabbed my upper thigh while trying to move her hand to my privates. In response, I scooted my seat back and said somewhat loudly to ensure the bartender heard, "I asked you nicely to please not touch me, so quit touching me." I didn't mean to sound aggressive, just firm. After that, I decided to cash out and leave. A couple of weeks later, I returned to my usual dinner and drinks. As soon as I walked in, the regulars fell silent. The bartender was short with me and slid the menu my way without saying a word. I thought he was just having a bad night. Then a gentleman approached me and said it was messed up how I treated the woman weeks before. I was shocked and asked him to clarify. He said I shouldn't have raised my voice at her for accidentally brushing up against my arm. I tried to explain my side, but it felt like no one was listening. I noticed the atmosphere had shifted, and I felt completely iced out at my favorite spot. As I left, I overheard a couple of people muttering, "A-hole" and "scumbag." Now I'm wondering, am I the a-hole in this situation? I don't think I can go back after this, and I really don't understand what I did wrong.
All right. Well, I've got questions as we get kicked off into this. He says that is this a bar? Is this a hole in the wall situation?
It sounds like a hole in the wall. It's a bar/restaurant.
Okay.
So it's probably a place where he watches sports and just winds down with a drink, maybe a meal, and just enjoys some him time.
Okay. I was just making sure I understood that this wasn't some like dive bar somewhere where this kind of stuff is the norm, because those type of atmospheres exist where if you're sitting at the bar alone, that's normally an invitation to have a conversation with someone. So that does put you in kind of that, not saying that that's how it should work, but what I am saying is when people sit at the bar, normally it's an invitation for other people to come and talk. I guess you're allowed to make the initial engagement, talk to each other.
But our OP does say no.
Yes, several times. And then on one of the occasions tells her that he's also getting married. He has a fiance. He doesn't want to buy her a drink, nor does he owe you one. That should have been where the encounter stopped. But I guess she keeps persisting throughout this evening until it gets to the point where she's physically groping him, from what it sounds like. Now, he says that the only thing maybe that might have gone wrong was he sounded more aggressive, got loud. Sure, would you like to take back how you sound, your tone with people?
It also depends on how comfortable you are in that situation as well. As I know, there are some people who will say the right things, but it'll come across the wrong way simply because they're put in the spotlight in the wrong moment.
But the real question there is, do you owe someone a nice tone when you've passed their boundaries several times?
I would say no.
At the end of the day, OP, you're definitely not the a-hole. It sounds like you need to find a new establishment to be a regular at. They have different values. If they're going to look at it, and I'm assuming they're just measuring it because you happen to be a male and you raised your voice, that you're automatically in the wrong no matter what happens to you. Because if they did care about you as a patron, especially because you go there every 2 weeks, if they did care about you, they would have asked you what happened first instead of picking a side, which is what they did. And that sucks because I'm guessing she probably made up some other narrative in her head as to why it got to the point it did, and then you look like a villain. You don't owe people an explanation for making sure that you're safe.
So the consensus on Reddit is our OP's not the a-hole. In fact, Redditors asked where the bartender was during all of this, and OP responded and said he was there. He was just working and helping other customers. I wasn't sure if he heard me the first couple of times or if he was just ignoring me. That's why I said it loud enough for him to hear the last time. He asked if I wanted my bill, and I told him yes. Apparently, after I left, she told people I raised my voice to her because she accidentally brushed against my arm while trying to sit down. Now, for Redditors, the bottom line was, if someone says, "Stop touching me," then respect the space and stop touching that person. Some Redditors even said that OP should place a review, as there are many who won't go out to eat without reading reviews since it's expensive to eat out and have a good time, especially to a bar. It's honestly pretty sad that there are people in this world that would do awful things, make you feel bad for setting respectable boundaries, such as "don't touch my body," and then turn around and play the victim card so that you become the social pariah. And it's also a shame anybody else looking in to find it acceptable that OP wasn't strong in their stance in personal space, making someone feel guilty for them putting down personal boundaries. And then on top of that, another person feeling that it's okay to overstep those boundaries. For me, looking in on this, had I seen this at a distance, I would have said, I wonder what happened to make this person suddenly get up, pay their bill, and leave.
Apparently everyone wanted just to hear one side, and everything happens for a reason, OP. Go find your new haunt.
I agree. Well, let's go on to our next story and see what you think about a breakup, an awkward situation, and a possible canceled birthday party. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my now gay ex-boyfriend to my birthday party? This is a really complex situation, and I have dyslexia, so I'm going to try and explain it in a way that makes sense. If you don't understand anything, please ask me to clarify. I, female 20, am turning 21 on Monday, and I have had a party that I have been planning since my 20th. I have never really had big birthday parties, even though it is something I've always wanted because growing up, my family were really poor. I started working just before my 20th birthday and have been saving up for a huge party this year. Probably not the best financial move, but it's something I've always wanted. But I rented a venue, hired entertainment, got a company in to do drinks, etc. I started dating Richard. Can anyone guess why I chose this alias? When I was 18. He was 2 years older than me, but he was in my course at university. Richard was my first boyfriend, and after only a few months, he basically moved into my parents' place with me. We moved into our own place just after my 20th, which I paid for because Richard has never had a job. My parents and family really love Richard, like a lot. So when Richard broke up with me, he moved back in with my parents. This was about 6 months ago. Very soon after we broke up, Richard announced that he was dating my little brother Jude. Jude had just turned 16 a few weeks before. This made me feel incredibly sick. I thought it was disgusting, and I had thought that my parents would also be disgusted and kick him out, completely cut him out of their lives, etc. But no. They supported the relationship. Whenever I brought up how weird it was, they would shut me down, basically calling me homophobic, saying there's nothing wrong with it because Jude is above the age of consent, how I am just sore or jealous. I ended up calling Richard a nunce, and my family kicked me out of the house for causing an argument. I have avoided being around Richard as much as possible since then, which makes me really sad because I was so close to Jude before all this happened. He would often come to stay over at my place. We would go out together all the time. But since he started dating Richard, it's like he's cut me out. Everyone in my family has been really excited for my party because everyone has been involved with planning it. But yesterday I sent a message in the family group chat, maybe not the best place to say it, I don't know, that Richard is not allowed at the party. If he attempts to come, I will call the police. I do not want him there, and I do not want to see him. This is, yes, partly because he is my ex, but mainly he just makes me sick. I don't understand how my family is okay with him being around them. My parents and Jude said if Richard is not invited, none of them will be attending. They called me selfish and jealous. And Jude has sent me nonstop horrid messages calling me every name under the sun. As the argument escalated, Jude called me selfish for putting my feelings above the family's as a whole. He said I was making a spectacle out of the whole situation and that he didn't understand why I was so hung up on Richard. I tried explaining that it wasn't just about him being my ex, but about how I found their relationship unsettling on multiple levels. But Jude wasn't having any of it. He kept saying things like, "Get over yourself," and "You're just bitter because he left you." His words really hit me hard. I didn't know Jude saw me this way, and hearing him say it out loud was like a punch to the gut. All I could think was, maybe I am overreacting. Maybe he's right, and I'm letting my own unresolved feelings cloud everything. I was hoping he'd at least try to understand where I was coming from, especially since we were so close before. But now it felt like I was the outsider, like I was the one tearing the family apart. The worst part is, I really do feel guilty. I feel like I'm forcing my family to choose between me and someone they care about, even if it's my ex. I keep wondering if this is all my fault, if I could have handled things differently. Now, instead of looking forward to my birthday, I'm dreading it. I wanted this party to be something joyful, but with everything hanging over it, I'm left questioning if it's even worth it. I don't want to hurt anyone, especially Jude. But I also feel like I can't just ignore how uncomfortable I am. I'm honestly so torn. Am I the a-hole? Now, just to provide more context, our OP lives in the UK. OP's brother is still considered a minor until 18. The age of consent there is 16. Richard, the ex, is 23 years old, and that makes it a 7-year gap between Jude and Richard.
You answered all the pretty significant questions I had about this. Because when he met the brother, what's his name? Jude? Jude was under the age of consent. He was 15. maybe even 14, depending on when they started engaging in that type of relationship, that's a predator. That's a problem. The fact that no one else saw that, because it didn't just start at 16. He didn't just have this relationship starting when he was 16.
We're going to be serious now, you guys.
Yeah.
It just started yesterday.
There was time before that. And the fact that your family allowed that to happen under their roof shows you enough about their values. You're better off without them, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying cut them off and move on with your life and break family ties, because family is very important. It just sucks that they're choosing to turn their heads to the real situation. That is a very big problem. And 7 years is a pretty big gap when you're talking about a child and someone who's 23 and 24.
I agree.
So why they are okay with it is beyond me. OP, I completely understand where you're coming from. It has nothing to do with your ex being your ex. Although that's still a good enough excuse to not want someone at your birthday party. The only crisscross here is technically he's dating her younger brother. That's still a no-no, no matter what. You don't hear about where people like jump from one sibling to the next. And I've seen that happen where it's done in a healthy way, so it can be done. But there are talks that happen. There's a lot of working through things, but it sounds like she just all of a sudden one day got told that, by the way, your younger brother, who is still a child, is now dating your ex-boyfriend, who, by the way, is still living with us.
And she said very soon after we broke up, Richard announced that he was dating my little brother.
It's such a gross story. I don't know why they're looking past the obvious here. OP, you're not the a-hole. It's hard to tell someone to be vigilant and still be that person for your brother, because it sounds like your brother is basing this completely off the fact that you are jealous in his eyes, which this couldn't be further from the truth, but it's what they're perceiving you're doing. It sounds like the entire family is basing this off of because he's your ex.
Well, our OP does say in another comment that the only reason why they started feeling uncomfortable with the whole situation was only because of her little brother, her child of a little brother dating this older adult.
Yes, the age gap.
She said had this not been a thing, they had actually split on amicable terms and she was fine with him coming to the party.
I can understand not wanting to look at that situation happening in front of you and realizing the implications of it. I think this story is very unacceptable. I'm sorry that the OP is going through this, because it sounds like she's worked her way up to, and I do agree with the whole, maybe not a great financial decision to be making, but these are the things you're planning for and you're doing it on your dime. So in my opinion, that's still a good way to exercise your right as an adult to do what you want to do in your life. Money can be made, money can be lost, but this is something you really want to do for your 21st. Good on you, follow through with it. Just don't have your family come along. Have the people that support you. It's your day. It really is your day. You're turning 21. You only get to do that once. So have the fun, but definitely don't allow people to come to your party that think it's okay for a predator to be in your household with your younger brother.
I agree. The consensus on Reddit is our OP's not the a-hole. For Redditors, this was gross and is grooming. Many said that the relationship more than likely started before Jude was 16 years old because they only made it official shortly after the brother turned 16. Now, I have to really pinpoint and spotlight this. This is gross and it's manipulative, on top of those parents being an absolute disgrace to even allow that under their roof. You know, if people want relationships, that's great. When someone turns 18, they can make it their mission all they want. Kiss all the frogs they need to until you land on that prince you're looking for. However, as a parent, my first thought is to protect my child from adults with disturbing agendas. Not only that, this is a grown man living with OP's parents under the same roof as a minor and probably had a relationship well before 16, has no job and has never had a job based on what OP said, therefore contributes absolutely nothing as a 23-year-old man. What is wrong with this picture? I do wish OP the absolute best. Don't allow other people to deter you from what you've worked hard to do. If you want to do this party and you're doing it financially correct, because let me just point out here, our OP held up the household because she said between her and Richard, she was the one that was working and paying the bills. He leaves and then he goes and decides to mooch off of her parents, which, you know, if the parents are allowing that to happen, man, my mind is absolutely blown at that.
Apparently they liked him enough for some reason.
It comes back to our OP was such an adult to actually have a job, hold it down, pay the bills, and still plan for something that they've been looking forward to. Seriously, don't allow someone to dictate the things that you would like to do in life and twist them so that you can't even enjoy them because of their own prerogatives. Have the party that you like and truly use this to vet out the people that you want in your life. Whether it's family or friends, you don't need someone making you question what's morally right, especially when you know instinctually that something is very, very wrong.
Agreed.
Well, let's go on to another story. And this one's another birthday one. It might also be a little bit on the darker side. So let's go ahead and jump right into this one. Am I the a-hole for turning down the birthday gift my mom's boyfriend gave me? I, 14 female, am kind of confused if I'm in the wrong here. I'm leaning towards that I am, but I want someone else's opinion. My mom started dating a new guy like 6-ish months ago, and I honestly never really liked him. I don't know how to explain it, other than he just gives me weird vibes. I've been trying to be nice though, because my mom likes him and I want her to be happy. He's been trying to make an effort with me, I think. He'll send me texts throughout the day and pictures. He tells me I'm smart and stuff too, which is nice. But I don't know. I'm just kind of uncomfortable with it. My mom says he's just being nice, but I don't know. Anyway, my birthday was a couple days ago, and he got me a really expensive necklace. He also gave me a ticket to a show that I've been wanting to go and see. And he said he has the other one and that we should go together. I just felt like it was too much, and I told him that I was really grateful, but that I couldn't accept them. He got really mad, and he said that he already spent the money, so I should just take it and go with him. But I really didn't want to. It ended up with him yelling at me and me basically running away to my bedroom. My family thinks I was too mean and that he's just trying to bond with me. I don't know. Am I the a-hole?
We're dealing with a 14-year-old that is telling us she's uncomfortable. There's something off about this guy and the way he's interacting with her. Based off of his reaction to her denying those gifts, you can kind of see why she feels that way. There's the animosity just under the surface of the smile, and that's dangerous. I'm shocked that the mother would have seen the yelling and the anger and accepted that in their household. Because this is the thing, this is a new boyfriend, right? This is fairly like 6 months.
6 months.
That would be the swift exit. If they said no and you didn't respect no, if you can't respect the child's boundaries, how are you going to respect an adult's? That's a red flag for me. Why he's pushing so hard for it to be him that takes her. He could have easily said, you know what? You don't feel comfortable with me yet? Take your mom, or a friend. There's other ways to go about not making someone feel guilted into accepting a gift. I don't know why it is that he's texting you on a regular basis. That's odd behavior, especially for someone who's only known your mother for 6 months. There's a lot here that, even as a stranger on the outside, ring a lot of bells. So for your mother to be as absent-minded as she is about the whole situation is interesting. Where's your dad? Tell him about what's been going on in your household and your mother's insistence on letting you meet someone she's only dated for 6 months. There's a lot of people who make sure that they fully vet anyone before they ever reach the household or talk to their children. It's important that you do that for your kids. You don't know their intentions, but just based off of the way he reacted to her saying no to him, there can't be good ones. In my opinion, OP, you are 14. Have your boundaries. This is a good way to learn them and a good way to identify people who do not. You do not owe your mother's boyfriend anything. But I will ask one last thing. Was the mother present for this interaction?
Yes, the mother was.
So everything I just said is pertinent to this, because that's the one thing I forgot to ask at the beginning. Was she there for this interaction? And did she accept this out of a stranger? You're a stranger at 6 months in my household. Talking to my child like that, I'm getting upset for her because that's unacceptable.
Well, let me go ahead and provide the consensus on Reddit, and then we're going to delve more into this.
There's more.
There's more.
Ooh.
So the consensus on Reddit is not the a-hole. Redditors said that OP should never ignore their gut instincts when it comes to these red flags. Many urged OP to speak reason to their parent regarding this matter, as no one should push another's boundaries to guilt them into doing something that makes them uncomfortable. Now, as I said, the story does have an update, and just so everyone aware, it does take darker turns. So just so that everyone is aware, there's potentially a trigger warning up ahead. So on to the update. Our OP said, "So if any of you were interested, you were right. My mom's boyfriend was trying to groom me. Apparently, for as much as my family said I was overreacting by turning down his gift, my mom didn't like that he yelled at me. Apparently, while she was pushing him for answers about why he got me something so expensive in the first place, he said something she thought was suspicious. Turns out he only started dating her because my mom had a picture of her, my older sister, and me on her dating profile, and he wanted to get to me, which is creepy. She said she's taking that picture off her profile now, but also she's not going to go on dates for a while, which I definitely feel bad about. I can't help but feel like it's my fault. But yeah, that's the update. Thank you guys for being so nice, even if you thought I was being a little stupid. I hadn't really learned much about predators before now." Edit. People keep bringing it up, so maybe some of you can give me advice. In a comment, I mentioned him watching me one weekend by himself and sleeping through most of it. Some of you guys are thinking he drugged me and did something because I only got tired after he made me lunch and I woke up sore. Should I actually tell my mom? I don't see why it matters considering it happened like 2 weeks ago, and I don't think I could prove anything anyway. Now our OP does provide us with one final update, and let me go ahead and read that now. I don't know if this will be my last update or not, but I wanted to post it because how many of you seemed worried about me. I told my mom it was really hard. I want to say I was brave about it, but I cried a lot and was really scared. I could barely actually say it out loud, so I showed her my Reddit post and what you guys were saying. She told me that I shouldn't trust strangers on the internet, but that she agreed that what happened the weekend he was checking in on me was weird. She took me to the ER right after I told her, even though it's really not an emergency. I don't understand everything that the doctors did, so please forgive me if I say anything wrong. They made me do a blood test, urine test, and they took some of my hair because they said that some drugs can be detectable for a few weeks after. The urine test came back already, and it was confusing because at first they said it was PCP, but then they said that they did another test and apparently there were traces of ketamine. So I don't really know if that means I tested positive for both or if it was only ketamine. I mean, I've never taken either of those things, so he probably drugged me though. They said he probably gave me something else too because of how I described it didn't seem like ketamine, but I don't really know what that means. Anyway, I guess we're waiting to see if anything else comes back. They also did a pelvic exam and some ultrasound thing. I don't remember what they called it. They said that there was trauma, so I was either grabbed or assaulted in some way. I am, or was, I guess, a virgin, so there's no debate there. I don't exactly know how they can tell, but obviously it's their job, so I don't really feel any way about it, but the social worker they brought in said I'm probably in shock. I told them I had gotten my period afterwards with bad cramps, but they told me that it was probably not actually my period and just me bleeding from it. But yeah, that's where we're at. I'm still in the hospital currently. I don't really know why I am. I'm at least staying till tomorrow, apparently. They want me to meet with a psychologist, and they were talking about starting me on medication. As for police, they've been contacted, but my mom isn't telling me much. I had to answer so many questions earlier. Thank you guys for being so nice. I probably would have never known what happened if someone didn't point it out. I don't know how exactly I feel about that, because maybe it would have been nicer to not know, but still, thanks. I'm also sorry if this post doesn't make sense. I don't really feel myself. And our OP says in one last update, just a short post to my account because I don't want to keep posting stuff to Am I the A-hole, as this isn't a big one or anything. I was discharged from the hospital and I'm currently heading home. My mom had my uncle check the house for cameras this morning like suggested. Thankfully, he didn't find anything. I think I'm going to stop posting updates about everything. I'm not feeling like myself, and I'm tired of people private messaging me and telling me I'm lying. I freaking wish I was lying to you. And for all the questions people keep asking, no, I hadn't been taught much about child predators before this. I was taught stranger danger and to not let an adult touch my privates, and that's it. Maybe I'm an idiot for not learning more before. I mean, how dare I assume I was safe, right? I can't change it now, though, and I know more now than I ever wish I had to. I don't know why my mom posted a picture of all of us on a dating app. Yes, all of us realize how it was dumb. I don't know why he outright admitted it. As I said, I wasn't there for the conversation, and I just know what my mom told me about it. For those of you who were getting annoyed about the urine drug test thing, I did ask my doctor this morning about it because I was curious too. He said they have had people test positive for ketamine in urine up to 14 days after taking it. The weekend I keep talking about was a 26/27th, which was about 9 to 10 days ago. I guess technically not 2 full weeks ago. So apparently plausible. He also said that PCP was a false positive. The only positive I currently have is ketamine. I'm sorry if I'm being aggressive. I've been bouncing between crying and lashing out this morning, and I'm just so freaking tired. The therapist was nice. I have an outpatient appointment scheduled with a different one in the week. The nurses and doctors were really nice. Apparently, they did an STI panel with the blood they took, but they're still waiting on results. But yeah, that's all the updates you'll get, probably for a long time if I ever update again. I really want to thank those of you who've been nice to me and have given me advice.
What a very infuriating story this is.
I think for me, hearing our OP say that they're sorry about their feelings at all in this post almost screams at their guilt. This is a 14-year-old child that had to go through all of this and have other people looking in help them get some perspective here. This is one of the darker stories that I have ever had to read. And as much as every part of me would not like it on our channel, I think it is a important thing to talk about, that awful things do happen to people. Stay vigilant.
Yes.
Truly, as a parent, as someone who's growing up and trying to learn the ways of the world, when something doesn't feel right, do not be afraid to bring up that something's wrong.
Trust your gut.
It is so, so important. Man, OP, if you ever were to encounter our very small, in this corner of the world video and touching on your story, just know you are not at fault
for any of this.
That you can't be expected to know or realize that you're not in a safe place and that the adults around you aren't trying to make sure that things are safe for you. I know there are tons of parents that have been very, very safe and dangerous things still happen. But those unfortunate incidences, they are not your fault. The only thing that I hope is that you truly get justice.
Hopefully they get them. I am happy though that she is already in an outpatient is what they said. She's talking to a therapist. There's going to be a lot of stuff you have to work through, but understand it's definitely 100% not your fault. I hope that your mother, for your sake, learns from a lesson that you had to pay for. That's ridiculous that you would let your child, regardless of age, be around someone you've known for 6 months alone.
I agree. Let's go on to our last story of the day and see about an awkward situation. Today, I fucked up by telling the maintenance man what I do for a living. So this isn't really a huge fuck up, but kind of a funny / incredibly cringy story. I recently moved into a new apartment and was having trouble with my washing machine, so the maintenance man came over to take a look. I happened to have my work computer open, and as he was leaving, he saw I was working in an Adobe program. He asked what I do for a living, and I told him I'm a graphic designer. He immediately got very excited and asked if I could hold on while he went to grab his phone. My first thought was that he was going to ask if I could make something for him, which is something I'm used to. But instead, he comes back and starts explaining that his daughter is currently going to school for graphic design. I said that's awesome, and he asked if I could do him a favor and wait a moment while he called her. I said yes. This is where things got messy. There was already a bit of a language barrier going on because he isn't fluent in English. So I wasn't really able to ask why he wanted to call her, but I assumed he was just oddly excited to tell her he had met another graphic designer. Not the case. What he actually wanted was for me to speak to her. Background info: I'm a recent college graduate myself, and I've only been in the field for a couple years. I'm also very socially awkward. He calls her, says some things in Spanish that I assume was something along the lines of, I met someone who's a graphic designer, and then he proceeds to hand me the phone. Thrown off guard, I reluctantly take it, and on the other end is a very confused girl who sounded about the same age as me and was definitely fluent in English. We both had no idea what was happening. I don't know what her father thought we were going to discuss, but the exchange that followed was a series of awkward hellos and mumbled confusion as I tried to ask what he wanted me to say to her. He just kept gesturing and saying, talk with her, but I wasn't prepared or comfortable talking about a job I'm new to myself. And it was obvious from her voice that she was also uncomfortable. So I just said, I'm sorry, and gave the phone back. Her father seemed to finally realize he had created a very uncomfortable situation, thanked me, and then left. I'm still cringing at how awkward I was. The too long don't read. I told my apartment maintenance man that I'm a graphic designer, and he called his daughter expecting me to provide her with advice or something, but I'm too socially awkward.
What a fantastic story.
The father reminds me of a parent who gets excited when they hear about like a commonality in someone that's about their kid's age and wants to just, you can be friends now because of this one thing.
Give them information, talk to them about what they're doing. Maybe it'll help them get a leg up.
But that's such a, and I hate to say it, it's almost an old school way of networking.
Yeah.
That is sort of, I feel, more non-existent in today's day and age. That to actually hear our OP experience it and him be like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
It just makes me laugh.
Had he been debonair, he could have turned that situation into a dating thing.
Oh, hell yeah. I can just imagine where he'd just be there. He'd be like, hey, so I heard you graphic design too.
So we're both here because you're awkward dad. Yeah, you could have started that conversation off in a fun way, but he said it. He is very socially awkward. So it was... I think that's kind of like that situation where your parent will put you on the phone with like a relative that's far older than you, that you have nothing in common with, when you were like 7 or 8 years old and all you wanted to do was come and say hi. And they go, here, take the phone and talk to so-and-so. You barely know their name. And then you guys are sitting there. The small talk is just
How you doing?
Yeah, awkward as this.
How have things been going over there? Have things been nice? Like, you don't know what to say.
And all you wanted to do was grab a Capri Sun. Go take the phone, Dad. That's what that was.
I figured this story would bring us back.
Kinda. I feel a little bit better, but you had 2 stories that were just rough today.
And man, I came across these, and the reality that these things happen, my heart goes out to these types of situations. Take the lessons that we hear from stories to heart.
Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you've seen the world, what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, probably not so much so today, but hopefully the last one brought it back. Please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We also post on Mondays and Wednesdays. Also, for anybody that's new, I swear I don't find super dark stories like this all the time, I promise.
No, we just stick those on our Damas After Dark on Fridays on our Patreon.
That's right. Sometimes. We would also love to thank all of our Teachreons for your support.
Yes, we love and appreciate every single one of y'all. And as always, listeners, we look forward to hearing your opinions in the comments below. What did you think about the stories today?
Sorry.
It was an episode.
Sorry, guys.
Holiday season.
For any of those of you who are curious, no real big baby updates aside from, man, my back hurt.
Yeah, Voyse is getting into that time where everything hurts.
Yeah, I get cramps randomly in my calves, but trying to keep up on walking and exercise, and that's about it. Oh, the excitement.
And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet. Catch you all on Wednesday.
I brought sad today, but maybe some ice cream will lift us up.
Ice cream does help.
Yes, let's do that.